Welcome back, everybody, to the Disciple Makers Podcast. This is Josh Howard and Jason Ishmael.
That's me. That's me. Wait, the beginning of these podcasts, it's always difficult because I want to start, but you want to start. Like, who's going to start this?
We always fight.
You always have such a great hook, and then I'm like, man, I wish I would have thought of that. And then I was like, I'm going to deliver the hook, and then I don't have a good idea, and I just kind of fail to launch, and then, it's tough. And so we just stumble into the beginning of these.
Yeah,
and perhaps
we do kind of stumble, don't we?
It is an appeal to mercy and grace.
It is.
Not an effective hook. It's an appeal to mercy and grace that you would still listen to the next things that we say.
Exactly.
Please.
We're begging you.
We're begging you to listen.
Off.
We're begging you.
We've been sitting in your phone this long, waiting to be released.
We're the Hurley brothers.
10,000 years. Give you such a creak in the neck. All right. So what we are talking about, though, is Sabbath today.
Yep.
Because a lot of times in disciple-making conversations, it is a 100% work conversation, like the work we need to do, which is massively important.
Yeah.
But a lot of times what ends up happening is we forget the rhythms that Jesus has given us to be healthy.
Yeah.
And so I can't tell you how many people in ministry, me being one of them, actually, I'll be sharing my testimony of actually what a lack of Sabbath did to me. And you can share what a Sabbath did to you, if you'd like.
You can share what not working enough did to you.
And you can share what it looks like to just have to preach one message every week.
My biggest weakness is that I work too hard.
Anyway, but really, for those listening, I think a lot of times Sabbath is just something that's like, oh, well, that was like a Jewish thing, or it was an Old Testament thing. What does that actually look like now? How does that work? And so I think in a disciple-making conversation, teaching our people, like being a disciple who has good rhythms of life, and then teaching our people and helping train our people on what good rhythms of life look like is massively important, because that's then not going to lead to burnout. It's not going to lead to tremendous amounts of unhealth. It's going to lead to a point where we're able to place the heavy lifting on Jesus, that he's always at work, even when we're not. And that the expansion of the kingdom is really he's taking lead on that. And so I'll start out with, if you want, the negative side.
Oh boy,
if you want,
we're going to do the bad news and then the good news.
Let's do that.
All right, fair enough.
Let's do bad then good. I'd rather end with good than bad.
All right.
So when I moved to India, I honestly did not have good rhythms in my life before I moved, but I was in college, and so the normal rhythms of college life ended up getting me plenty of rest and fun with friends and stuff like that, you know what I mean? I mean, I was living in the dorm, and, you and I would hang out, and me and some other guys would hang out, and there'd be plenty of time, even though I was working and going to school, and I was preaching on the weekends.
Wait a second, you hung out with other people?
Sorry, I didn't mean to say that right now.
No.
I thought we were exclusive.
I didn't think you had any other friends.
Right. But it just naturally had times that I was resting and hanging out with people and stuff like that. Well, I moved to India and get a real job. And I'm working every day. Saturdays, we had a half day that we were working. And then a lot of weekends, on Sunday, I was either speaking or, at a church that I was helping lead or whatever it might be. And so it ended up, I literally had like a half day off every week. And a lot of times, even Saturday afternoon, something would come up that would need to be done. And so I really wasn't getting much rest, realistically. I was getting up every morning. I was, working and working hard, and it was good and it was fruitful and all of that. But after several years of that, what ended up happening was it led me into a pretty intense season of burnout. Now, we've talked on a previous episode about the season of like depression and anger that I went through. It was the same season. So it was all connected together. It was burnout, it was depression, it was anxiety, all these things that were just kind of being birthed around the same time. But what ended up happening was I got to a point, man, where I was burnt on both ends. I wasn't able to focus well. I was losing motivation, losing energy. I was depressed, anxious, frustrated, angry, all of the above. And so it finally got to a point where I went to my wife and to my family, my in-laws, and I said, "Hey, I feel like I need a break." And they were so gracious and loving. And I had never taken a sabbatical ever in my life. And so they were like, "Well, what would it look like? What would a sabbatical look like for you?" And so they ended up giving me the organization and my family gave me about a 4-month period where I was able to take off and quit working every day and really focus in on rest and getting my soul back to where it needed to be. And man, that re-energized me and set me on a new trajectory unlike anything else. And it ended with getting new rhythms in my life. Mm-hmm. And so I went back and I talked to my family and the organization. I basically said this: "Okay, guys, what if rather than doing that half day on Saturday, because I do a lot of ministry on Sundays, what if Saturday became the Sabbath day? And I took every Saturday off?" They're like, "Yes, no problem." Right? And so Saturday in India became my Sabbath rest day. Wasn't going to work, wasn't going to do much. I was just going to rest, relax, hang out with the family, and do things that would fill the tank. Wayne Cordero wrote a book called, I said his name right?
Cordero, yeah. Wayne Cordero.
For whatever reason, it came out of my mouth weird. He wrote a book.
Catching it.
He wrote a book called Leading on Empty.
Yep.
And one thing that he talks about there is finding stuff that's going to fill your tank, because in ministry, you're pouring out a lot, right? And so for me, that Saturday of just resting, relaxing, spending time with family, it became the time that my tank would get filled. And that Sabbath, man, radically changed the future going forward. So it took a sabbatical at the beginning to really get everything reset and realigned, and then stepping into a Sabbath where I had at least one day off that I was going to just focus on family and focus on rest and relaxation, really began to help me to have longevity in ministry, right? And I think so often, man, we forget it. Like, we forget that God designed the world for us to rest, literally from the creation at the beginning. He works for 6 days. God himself, which he did not need rest. Right. Sabbath was not made, man was not made for Sabbath. Sabbath was made for man. God didn't need rest. And here's the crazy thing that I heard a preacher say once, some guy somewhere, my normal deal.
At least you quoted Wayne Cordero.
There you
did get that.
I got that right. But a guy said, here's the thing we don't think about. God worked 6 days, and the seventh day is rest. The seventh day was actually the first day of humanity. So humans were created day 6, literally their first full day on the earth. God says, don't do anything. Rest. And so God is resting after work. Our work flows out of rest. It's a different mindset. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like, they hadn't done anything yet. He breathed life into them, and he says, okay, your first full day, I don't want you to do anything. Like, it's because he's wanting a rhythm in our lives set where, listen, you do not need to enter this world striving. You don't need to enter this world focused on work. Your work needs to flow out of the rest that I give you. Your work needs to flow out of the overflow of your time with me. And it's a beautiful picture, because we think, man, we run super hard and then collapse into our Sabbath. And Jesus is saying, or the Father is saying, actually, I want even creation humanity to begin with the Sabbath for their very first day on the planet.
Wow. Yeah. You think about the rhythms of our culture.
Yeah.
And we're a people and a culture. And, I think you can find different kinds of problems in different parts of the world, but I think that Americans tend to crash into their vacations.
Oh, yeah.
And if they're even getting those.
Yeah.
And that's not even an assumption.
Yep.
How many people do we know that are not even doing that? And so imagine, though, a rhythm of life in which you are literally crashing into those spots, into those times off.
Yeah.
And you spend the first several days recovering from exhaustion before you're ever even actually resting.
And the truth is, man, when you're running hard for a long time, a 2-week vacation is not enough time to even recover.
Man,
I mean, it's crazy because you're running so hard. And if you don't have time off in a long time, you hit that 2-week vacation, man. I mean, when I took the sabbatical, it took me, I'd say, a good 3 months before the desires that I used to have in ministry to begin to resurface again.
Man.
The longing and the dreams that were once in my heart. It took a good, I'd say, maybe 10 to 12 weeks. And it's because I was so burnt. That if you get rhythms right, that doesn't happen. Okay,
Right.
It's because I didn't have the rhythms for so long. I mean, I was
like being
I was
in the
on the
hospital
field
for a while. For
yeah,
you.
right. I mean, that's what it was like. You know, if you have a cold, you don't need 3 months in the hospital, right? But if a disease or a sickness progresses so much, or you're in a terrible accident, there may need to be some recovery time. And for me, that's what it was, right? But if we get it right early, you don't need that. Okay, that's what a lot of people don't understand is that, man, it's not that you need 3 or 4 months off, but if you don't live right for a long time, that's what's needed to actually recover.
Yeah, because I think there's there are plenty of people that will hear this and say, 4 months off.
Yeah,
I'm not going to get 4 months off until I retire.
Absolutely.
That's never going to happen in
100%.
my life. I mean, I think about, my wife was a high school English teacher. And it's funny, too, because I think we can make errors on both sides of this. I think there are times where ministry professionals work way too much. And I think there are also times where ministry professionals take advantage of their freedom and don't work enough. I had a professor, I think you might have had this guy too, a guy named Keith McCaslin.
Oh, yeah.
Who said it was in a class called Minister's Life and Work. And it was like it was an old school, like, here's everything I know, guys.
Yep.
And he looked at the room and he said, you guys are likely going to fall into one of two categories. You're going to walk into situations where you have a level of scheduling and executive freedom that most people don't get in their careers until they're 25, 30, 35 years in. And so most of you are not going to be ready to handle that, and you're either going to work too much or you're not going to work enough. And the funny thing is we tend to think that, man, if I work too much, that's actually a noble thing.
Right.
I remember my first season in ministry. I come from a long line of hardworking people. My grandma and grandpa both worked. My mom's parents worked in a die casting factory. My grandma had an 8th grade education, immediately went to work in cracking eggs in a factory.
Okay.
Never sat a moment in high school, and just worked her butt off. Got to the point where she was retirement age, had been widowed for 15 years at that point, and she said, I feel guilty about retiring. I feel like I can physically still work. And we had to tell her, Mama, like, what are you doing? You've earned this.
Yeah, right.
Like, chill out and enjoy. I think about my mom and dad, just like hard working people. And so this thing is instilled in me, like, man, I gotta work hard. That's because it's an honorable thing to do. And it's a biblical thing to do even. What did Paul say to the Thessalonians? Keep quiet and mind your own business. Work with your hands. Yep. Make it your ambition to live a quiet life, he says,
right.
Which is what a great admonition. But I remember my first summer in ministry. My wife was wrapping up her last year of college. She was also working part-time at a bank. We're just making ends meet. We're young. And the first summer comes. And I think, boy, this is great. We're going to slow down in summertime. So what had always been in my life, as a student, summer break comes. We enjoy the pool, mow the lawn a little bit. Whatever we need to do, we got time.
Yep.
I ended up, not because I scheduled it, because it just happened. Some of it was scheduled and some of it was just life. We had just started a new work at the church. It was almost like a church plant in some ways. It wasn't a church plant, but it had the kind of some of those demands. I worked 56 nights in a row. And I look back on that season and I'm shocked that no one stopped me and said, hey, you're going to make a massive mess of your life if you keep acting like this.
Yeah.
And And the funny thing was, we tend to talk about young people as if, you know, they never work hard. The danger is, though, I know a lot of young people who have fewer reasons to say no.
Yeah.
And end up saying yes to every single demand that comes in their lives.
Yep.
Not just people that are professional pastors, but people that are students that are working 9 to 5s. They're trying to do everything they can do.
Yep.
And then bam, they are filling up so many things in the schedule and forgetting. I love the way that Eugene Peterson puts this in the Message, and the way that he paraphrases Matthew 11. You look at 28, 29, 30. It's talking about my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Peterson has this phrase, the unforced rhythms of grace. And if I have to force a rhythm in my life that is going to one day completely spend me and wring me out and throw me away, it is not a rhythm of grace.
Yeah.
Man, the unforced rhythms of grace, what does that life look like?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like one that's actually resting.
Yeah.
Resting.
Yep. Absolutely. And a lot of times, man, when we talk about disciple making, this is not a part of it.
No way.
Like
no
we're
way.
not training disciples on how to rest. We're actually trying to, because honestly, the truth is, and it's not that it's been bad. It's been that a lot of times in the history of, especially in America with American Christianity, modern history right now, is we have a lot of people in our churches that are doing nothing for the kingdom. So the last thing you're going to disciple them on is to rest, right? It's
rest
like
more.
Yeah, right. It's like you're not doing anything. Do nothing some more. You know.
Here's the thing: they're not Sabbathing. They might be
Sabbathing.
They might be sedentary, but they're not resting.
Right,
not
exactly,
the kind of rest that is
and
feasting in the Lord's presence.
And they're exhausted anyway. So the point is, it's contrary to what we think we need to do. We think we need to kick them in the pants. You know what I'm saying? Get them into the harvest. Get them out working. Get them out doing stuff for the kingdom. And all of that may be true, but the truth is, these same people, they're working their normal 9 to 5 jobs at the same pace or more than you're getting burnt out in your ministry job, and they need rest just as much, if not more, than we do. Yeah. And we're not training them on it. We're not teaching them on it. It's like, some of these guys, their only day off is Sunday, and it's like, hey, we want you to come and serve Sunday. We want you to come to church on Sunday. And again, of course, we want them in church. I'm not saying that. But my point is, like, hey, come early, serve at 3 services, attend one of them. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then pretty soon, we've not taught them that, hey, if you don't have Saturdays off, you know what? It's probably better if you just come and attend a service. You don't need to come work some more.
Well, be careful with this, Josh. What are you doing?
Right, exactly. All the pastors are going to be writing me nasty emails. You're trying to get my people not to volunteer.
But think about it. Among our most precious resources in the kingdom, absolutely we have the gospel. Absolutely we have the Holy Spirit. But let's not forget that one of the resources that we are rich in are people.
Yeah.
And that is not a resource that should be abused and exhausted.
Absolutely.
It is a resource that should be cherished, should be invested in and built up, that should be respected and honored.
Yeah.
And rest is one of those things. Now, here's the beautiful part about this, though, because if we're talking about rest, this is not simply just to get us a healthy life. There's also a result from this. So oftentimes doing things God's way produces results beyond what you would think. And I love the way John Mark Comer, when he wrote his book on Sabbath, the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, which is really just stuff from Dallas Willard. The whole thing was from Dallas Willard. I love because there's a discipleship relationship there in action. Talks about Sabbath not just as rest, but as resistance. So think about the idea, even for the Israelites, coming out of 400 years of slavery in Egypt, and then the rhythms that God establishes for their nation and the way of worship that God establishes for their nation are about reconstructing their culture as the people of God, reestablishing the kingdom as God has designed it. And so when you take a day and you say, nothing is happening here other than the Lord's time. It's His 100%. I'm not going to make money. I'm not going to work. I'm going to stop. What you are saying is that I have enough. In 6 days, I have enough. I'm content in 6 days. And I got to see this My dad had a friend. My dad used to be a fast food guy, managed a bunch of Hardee's. He was a district manager for Hardee's on the west side of St. Louis. Had a friend who had worked with them at Hardee's and said, man, I'm going to go out on my own and start a business. And he started a little restaurant in Troy, Missouri called Crumbly Burger. This guy's name was Matt. And just a great place, like made right style burgers, nice and greasy, just like delicious, right? And he says, this is before Chick-fil-A was a multi-billion-dollar thing. Okay,
right.
So
when it was just in malls, food courts.
Yeah, this would have been back in like the early 90s.
Yeah.
And he said, we're not going to be open on Sundays. What do you mean you're not going to be open on Sundays? You're never going to make it. You're not going to, if you're not open on Sundays, you're leaving a bunch of money on the table.
Yep.
There is no way this business is going to make it. And he says, well, if this business isn't going to make it because we're not open on Sundays, then so be it. And so he steps out in faith, says, I'm going to make sure that anybody that works for me has an opportunity to be in church on Sundays, has an opportunity to worship, has an opportunity to stop their week, and I'm going to stop my week. And so the reality is, over the last 35 years, they made less money than they would have. In all likelihood. Now, we could probably say, oh, no, the Lord bless. He probably made it up somewhere else. Maybe he didn't.
Yeah.
Like, I think the math probably works out. You miss out on the Sunday lunch crowd in his business. You're likely not making that up somewhere else. And again, maybe he did.
Yeah, right.
But if Matt sat here right now, I don't think he would look at us and say, I did that so that the Lord could bless me financially somewhere else. He said, I don't care what I lose because I'm content with what I have in these 6 days.
Yeah.
And a culture that has said, we never have enough. We always want more. We'll buy more. We'll consume as much as possible. For a person to come in that and say, no, I'm resisting the culture of more.
Yeah.
To rest and say, I have enough. What an incredible thing. What an incredible testament to the provision of God.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. It puts our trust in God as provider. It puts our trust in God as the one who's actually making the world spin. That, man, we're not needed every waking hour of every day.
That's right.
I mean, sometimes we end up, especially in ministry, man, we end up having a savior complex where we've got to be the guy, or we've got to be the gal. And we're the ones that have to make stuff happen. And if we're not there, stuff falls apart. And there's this control thing that happens where, man, I've got to be available now, especially due to smartphones now, bro. Like, I've got to be available 24 hours a day. I've got to be, man, I better text back right away. It could be 10 o'clock at night and I'm sitting with my family and a text comes in about something and I feel the need to immediately respond. I mean, bro, it's crazy. Like, you and I grew up in an age where these did not exist. And if somebody wanted to get a hold of us, and neither did email, by the way, back when we were young kids, not even email. So if somebody wanted to get a hold of us, it was call our house phone. And if we were gone, we were gone. And we'd get back to it in a day, 2, 3, whatever.
We didn't even have caller ID or an answering machine.
Well, there you go. Yeah, right.
It would just ring.
Yeah, right. We had an answering machine, so I don't know where you grew up.
I was obviously not as wealthy as you.
Right. We had an answering
humble
machine.
beginnings.
So on a little tape. So anyway, but my point is, man, like now, the pace of life that we're living, it is just completely and totally unsustainable. And most of us are drowning. Most of us are like, I'll be real here. I've lived in America now less than a year after spending 16 something years on the mission field. And dude, the pace of life that we've needed to live to kind of keep up with stuff that's happening and kids stuff and family stuff and everything has been so much faster than what we're used to. And my wife and I feel like we're constantly behind on the pace that we've got to live at, and we're always feeling exhausted and tired, and it's just like, man, this isn't healthy. Wow. It's not sustainable. You know what I mean? And so we have got to talk about what you were just talking about. We've got to resist that, man. Like, that's part of the Sabbath, is to literally say, like you said, man, we are going to resist the culture of hurry. We're going to resist the culture of immediate, responses. And we're going to set our phones down. And that's where I struggle, man. If I'm going to confess something, I've got my phone on me all the time, no matter where I'm at or what I'm doing. And if a text comes in, I feel the immediate need to check it. You know what I'm saying? Like, And it's not healthy, because then my family doesn't get all of who I am. My kids don't get all of who I am. And it creates this urgency about every little thing, no matter what it is, that brings stress and anxiety high,
Yeah.
So
the digital leash.
No wonder why we're the most anxious group of people that probably have ever lived in the history of the world.
Wow.
Like, anxiety is higher now in the United States, especially, than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And more people deal with it than ever. And of course, we're constantly in urgent mode. We're constantly in it's got to be done now mode.
Yep.
And so Sabbath helps protect us from that. It helps give space.
Yeah. Pay attention how deep your breath is. That'll be a really good barometer of how much rest you're getting, of how restful you are. And Americans, on average, have some of the shortest breath in the entire world. Short, quick breaths. When the irony is that it is breath that makes us alive. The name of Yahweh is breath sounds.
Yeah.
What is our life but breath? And here we are short of it.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're short of it. Well, it's because we don't stop.
Yeah.
And breathe.
Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. Well, I think that's a good word, man. And I think it's important that we've had this episode because, like I said, a lot of times in the disciple-making conversation, things like Sabbath and rest are just not discussed. And so if anything today, guys, as you're listening, we hope this has been helpful and inspiring. But if anything, man, we want to get some creative juices flowing in your heart and mind to think about, what does Sabbath look like for you? Are you getting the rest and filling that you need? Is your family getting the time that it needs? Is the Lord getting the time that He has provided for us from the creation of the universe? And are we actually living in that and stepping into that fully? The last thing, man, the Lord wants is a bunch of burnt out, angry, frustrated, anxious people. He longs for us to be a people that are walking in step with His Spirit at His pace, not getting out in front of Him, but walking in stride with Him. And I promise, from the Gospels, His pace of life is a heck of a lot slower than what you and I are used to running. And so it's time for us to get on His clock, on His time. Let's die to our calendars, and let's make sure that we're submitting our life and our time into His hands, and make sure that He is the King of every area of our life, including days that we take off and restful days.
Amen to that.
Amen, bro.
Amen to that.
Well, hey, check us out on Discipleship.org. We would love for you to subscribe, share this with those that you think might be interested and that may be helped by it. But Jason and I both, we have a blast recording these. We love hanging out and doing this, and we hope it's been a blessing to you. And if it is, let us know. If you've got questions, or if you've got some topics you'd like us to hit on, we'd love to hear that too. And so reach out to us at Discipleship.org. You can find a lot of free resources on there that can help you and bless you in your disciple-making journey. But for now, guys, let's go out. Let's be disciples who make disciples, and let's make sure we're getting the rest that we need in order to be as vibrant and as on fire as possible. In Jesus' name.